Hey folks, it's Tom Frugal Prepper. I am hanging out here on the 4th of July. It's nice weather. I'm trying to get some stuff done. I got the grass cut yesterday. I'm getting ready to tear this antenna apart and save one of the elements off of that and get rid of the rest of it. Garden is doing real good. You can see there, the beans are huge. I'm getting squash and cucumbers, and I've got watermelon set. Everything's doing really good there. I've got potatoes growing in that tire. I keep having to add dirt to cover them up. Cleaned out the side of the house over here. This is this huge giant maple tree that I'd like to get cut down eventually, but I've got to get something done with part of it. This lead right here coming off of it. Actually had to hammer the spouting over when we put it in to make clearance. So it's really time for that lead to come out. It broke off about halfway up and landed on the roof a few years ago. That's when I had to get a new roof after that storm. But this whole side of the house here was completely, I should have took a picture beforehand, but it was just completely all grown up with weeds. So I cleaned that out. I cleaned out the fence line. So that all looks a lot better, and that allows me now to get my trash cans stored back here behind the fence, so they're not right out beside the house, so they're a little less visible that way. It looks a little better. And the other thing I've done is I've gone all the way around the house and cleaned out all the spouting now, all of the gutters, and then I put in some of this plastic mesh stuff that I got at Lowe's. I use 6 rolls. It's 20 feet per roll. It's like $4 a roll. But yeah, I've got it all of this spouting here all cleaned out, rinsed out, and put the wire mesh up. I cleaned all the weeds off the back of the house that were here. Now, I don't know if you can see here, but it's time to scrape this paint off and paint this fascia board. And the sides of the house and the front of the house also need done. Now this is the addition here, and it's got like aluminum siding right there, so I don't have to worry about it. This is the addition my dad built. I had some water coming into my closet as well, and I think where the spouting's been leaking, it's eroded some of the stuff out of here. So I'm just going to go through and see, like, there's a real big hole going back down in that brick. I'm just going to go through here and fill that in with silicone. But just doing some painting and some house maintenance. I got this medieval torture device right here. Time to scrape some paint off, and I'll just go slow with it a little at a time. I'll eventually get it done. But you couldn't ask for a nicer day. Low humidity, cool temperatures. It's just like a beautiful spring day out here. It's just absolutely wonderful. Yesterday was too. Just couldn't ask for better weather to be outside working. I'm not sweating at all. So I'm real happy about that. I don't think in my whole 40 years it's ever been this nice on the 4th of July. It's just beautiful. Partially sunny, white fluffy clouds. Just, it's like, you know, on Windows XP when you that default background with the little hill and the grass. It looks like the perfect summer day. It's just like that. It's just beautiful out. So, that's basically what I'm doing. I've just been trying to get the house together and focus on the gardening. And I don't know, I guess some people have asked me like what I think about the whole, you know, this whole thing going on in the Middle East with Iraq, and our government's getting more and more crazy, and these moms who are demanding action are going to all these businesses and getting them to say, please don't bring guns here. I guess I'll say something on that is, hey, I don't really watch TV, and I hear about things occasionally on Facebook like that, but unless they post a sign on their front door, I could care less what they ask, because the law says it has to be posted, or they have to actually in person like ask me to leave. So unless one of those two things happen, I'm going to carry my gun, and I typically carry it concealed. I mean, the guys in Texas carrying their big rifles in to the Chipotle or whatever. Well, I mean, the one thing you got to remember is that they can't carry a handgun. It's illegal in Texas to open carry a handgun. So I kind of get that. But I don't think they were just open carrying a rifle because they couldn't open carry a handgun. I think they were wanting to make a statement. I don't really get the point of that because it scares people. And then people complain. And then I don't think it makes the movement look good. Now, open carrying a handgun I think is a little different because, it's properly holstered. The trigger's covered. I don't know if some idiot with an AK walking into a restaurant or an AR hasn't swept the safety when he threw it over his back and he's got a round in the chamber and he sits down wrong. I don't necessarily know that I want to be around other people with a whole bunch of rifles eating my Chipotle. I wouldn't have a problem with handguns necessarily, but I mean, it's their right to do it, and I probably wouldn't really say anything, but I'd watch them carefully, right? So I don't know. I guess I've had a couple questions about what my thoughts might be on that, and I have open carried. I go to open carry demonstrations. If I'm out working in the yard and I have one of my bigger guns on, I'll usually open carry it. If I have to run over to Lowe's or somewhere to get something, I'll usually just leave it on and open carry it. But as a general rule, I conceal carry. That way I just don't have to worry about it. Now, we had a problem with our local Best Buy here in town, and I did go back there once they admitted that their corporate policy was that they abide by local gun laws, and apologized for kicking somebody I knew out who was open carrying because they didn't have a concealed carry. Then I went back and open carried, and at that time, I open carried a rifle around Best Buy for a little while and bought a Diet Coke and left. But I was trying to make a point. I wasn't really, and now that I look back on that, that probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, because you're not really making a point. You're just ticking off the management. You're ticking off the other shoppers. So, that might have been a mistake, but I guess, you make your mistakes and learn from them. But typically, I think anymore, I probably just won't really open carry, especially a rifle, unless there's a reason to. Like if it's an open carry march or demonstration, then sure. But, our open carry demonstrations here in Ohio are more like, we always let the state police and the Columbus police know what's going on when we're open carrying in Columbus, and they've usually all gone off without a hitch. They're very peaceful and very decent, and we have the support of local law enforcement and work with them. So it's not like everybody kind of expects there to be people walking around with rifles, As far as the whole Middle East thing, I don't know. I've given up. We've sent all these people over there to die, and we've killed all these people, and there's been innocent lives lost, civilian lives lost, and we're supposed to bring all this stability to the region. We're over there for God knows how long, and we left and we accomplished nothing. Everything that we built will be torn down and destroyed by the fighting that's going on, and now we're talking about going back. You know what? And one of the things I heard was, well, they could get weapons and they could threaten this country or that country or threaten Russia, and it's like, well, you know what? Then let Russia take care of it for a change. It doesn't affect me here, so I don't really care that much. But what I think, what I'm thinking is probably going to come as an end result is that whole region of the world is going to fall into chaos. And there's going to be an insane amount of fighting. And there's not going to be oil coming from that region of the world eventually. And it could be soon. And without oil, everything we have ceases to exist or becomes very expensive. If you go buy some ground beef at the store, you have to understand how much oil is involved in the production of that ground beef. We've used oil as a way to increase the production of everything. We have to use diesel fuel to plant it, diesel fuel to spray the Roundup on it, diesel fuel to harvest it, diesel fuel to transport it to the silos. Then we use propane to dry the corn in the silos. Then we use diesel fuel to transport it to the different places like the corn syrup plants that process it. And then we use, when we transport the corn syrup a lot of times by train to the factories or by truck or both. And then it gets made into something, and then that product gets transported to the store by diesel. But even just, I guess I was talking about beef, you know. With beef, you got to transport the cattle, you got to harvest all that corn, and then that gets transported to the cattle and fed to the cattle, and then the cattle have to be transported to be butchered, and then the butchered meat has to be transported to the stores. So all that's based on oil. And have you noticed how much stuff we make out of plastic today? Well, you know, this plastic cup is made from oil. So oil is going to be a big problem when it becomes, I don't think it'll be that you can't get it, but I think when you go to the gas station and it's $20 or $25 a gallon, you're going to think twice about filling up your car, right? And it's going to be a precious commodity. So my goal is to start like doing what I can do, which like gardening is one thing that I can do right now inside my city limits and in my backyard. And any of that food that I can grow, I don't have to use oil to walk out here and pick it. I might use a little oil to run the tiller, but you know, I'm not dependent on that whole supply chain. And so that's my goal, is to become more independent from that so that I'm not relying on it. I don't think that the whole world's going to fall apart and destabilize, at least not right away. But I think if something like that happens, we will start to see simultaneously a collapse of the dollar, because the dollar only has value because of oil. Because it's the only thing that you can use to trade for oil. So once there's not really any oil, nobody's going to care about the dollar. So we could see rising costs, oil shortages, in combination with a fall of the dollar. And who do we owe so much money to is China. China needs oil really bad. And what you have to remember is that there is oil in the United States, but we haven't drilled for all of it, and we don't run the existing oil supplies anywhere near their capacity. But you have countries like China that are going to be looking hard at the United States if they can't get oil out of the Middle East anymore, that we owe a lot of money to. They're going to feel that they have a right to that. And we could end up in a war over something like that too. So, you know, it could all fall apart, and I'm just starting to look at everything that's going on and how it's going on and realizing how precarious our situation is. And a lot of people think, well, we have such a strong military, no one would challenge us. You know, one of the things I think that's just nobody thinks of is, if you look at our modern tanks and our military equipment, so much of it is based on satellites, GPS locations, satellite control, satellite phones, satellite communications, electronics in general. Well, we don't have a space shuttle anymore, folks. We don't have the ability to go up and fix our satellite. We ride on Russia's rockets to get to the space station and to get to outer space now. Russia, we're not on great terms with them right now either over this whole Ukraine thing. Something to think about, folks. Anyway, this is Tom, your frugal prepper. Everybody, be happy, be frugal out there.